you ever feel like life's playing a prank on you? Same heartbreak, different person, same struggle, new job. No matter what you do, the pattern stays the same. It's not just déjà vu, and it's definitely not just bad luck. What if these repeating life lessons are not random, but a coded message from something far beyond this reality? Something your soul came here to face, over and over, until you finally get it. Something that probably comes from a higher dimensional layer of reality, known as the ninth dimension. In science, especially in advanced string theory, the ninth dimension is described as a place where all possible timelines of all possible universes can be compared. But in ancient metaphysical teachings, it's seen as a realm of karmic patterns, soul contracts, and energetic memory. Here, time doesn't flow like it does in the 3D world. Instead, it folds. It loops. It reflects. And those loops? They don't come to punish you, they come to wake you up. In this video, we'll bridge quantum theory and spiritual wisdom to understand why we keep repeating the same life lessons and how the ninth dimension just might hold the key to finally breaking the cycle. To understand why life keeps echoing familiar challenges, we need to step outside linear thinking and zoom out, way out. Beyond our three-dimensional experience lies a complex reality that science and spirituality are only beginning to agree on. And at the center of that convergence is the ninth dimension. In string theory, dimensions are not just imaginary concepts, they're mathematical necessities. According to theoretical physicists, the ninth dimension is where all the possible timelines of all the possible universes can be compared. It's not just about alternate realities, it's about how those realities are interconnected. Imagine standing in a space where you can see every version of yourself, every choice, every outcome, all at once. That's the perspective of the ninth dimension, but science isn't the only lens here. In metaphysical traditions, this dimension is known less for timelines and more for templates. It's a space of pattern intelligence. Not mental patterns, but soul patterns, blueprints encoded across lifetimes. Some call them karmic imprints, others call them soul contracts. Either way, they're energetic instructions that carry forward unresolved themes until clarity is reached. This is where dimensional recursion comes in. Recursion is a concept from mathematics and computer science. It refers to a process that repeats itself in a self-similar way. In the ninth dimension, recursion becomes spiritual. Patterns repeat across timelines and lives, not by accident, but by design. Think of it like this. Unresolved lessons from one timeline don't just fade. They echo across dimensions, trying to find a version of you who's conscious enough to resolve them. Until then, the pattern keeps coming back, not as punishment, but as continuity. Here's where quantum theory intersects again, specifically the observer effect. In quantum mechanics, particles remain in a state of probability until observed. Once observed, they collapse into a single outcome. Now apply that to your life. What if the patterns you're stuck in keep repeating because at a higher level you haven't truly observed them? Not noticed them, but observed them with real awareness, with detachment, with understanding. This is the essence of ninth dimensional insight. You collapse your experience into new outcomes only when you see the entire pattern, not just its latest expression. So when you say, "Why does this keep happening to me?" the ninth dimension answers, because you haven't yet seen the whole pattern play out. Your choices, beliefs, emotions, all of them create feedback loops. But in the ninth dimension, those loops aren't bound by time, they're shaped by consciousness, and until you become the conscious observer, they'll keep folding back into your life. Not to trap you, but to give you another chance to choose differently. These loops don't just exist in theory, they manifest in your everyday, three-dimensional life. But here's the catch. Your 3D self can't always see the full pattern. It only sees the trigger. Maybe it's a relationship that ends the same way every time. Or you keep attracting bosses who undermine you. Or every financial breakthrough seems to collapse right when you start to feel secure. From the surface, it looks like coincidence or misfortune, but from the ninth dimension, what's happening is a karmic feedback cycle, a loop created by an emotional frequency you haven't yet cleared. In metaphysical systems like Hinduism and Buddhism, this is known as samsara, the cycle of suffering and rebirth driven by unlearned lessons. But in modern spiritual psychology, we can also understand it as unresolved emotional energy that stays trapped in the subconscious. This energy acts like a magnet, pulling in circumstances that reflect it over and over. So what's actually repeating? Not the people, not the events, but the frequency. And that frequency is rooted in an original wound, something your soul came here to transform. This is where the idea of a soul contract becomes important. Before incarnating, it's believed that your higher self chooses specific lessons to master, frequencies like abandonment, betrayal, rejection, or powerlessness. These aren't just abstract themes. They're vibrational states. And unless fully transmuted, they remain embedded in your field, shaping your experiences without you even realizing it. Let's say your contract involves healing abandonment. In childhood, you may have felt emotionally neglected. That wound then gets encoded into your nervous system and belief structure. As an adult, you find yourself in relationships where partners pull away. It feels like the world is against you, but really, it's just reflecting what's unresolved. This is the mirror effect of reality. The outer world reflects the inner world not to shame you, but to show you what still needs to be seen, noticed, loved, and cleared. But here's the tricky part. Your mind doesn't remember the soul contract. It wasn't designed to. The mind lives in time. The contract lives beyond it. So what happens? You react to the trigger, not the pattern. You fight the surface level problem instead of healing the original wound. You treat symptoms, not the source. And so the cycle continues until the deeper lesson is faced. What you experience as limitation is often your soul's way of pulling you back to a place of unfinished business. And from the ninth dimension, those lessons aren't judged. They're tracked, observed. Not as failures, but as data points showing where light still needs to enter. So if you find yourself saying, "Why me?" consider flipping the question, what is this pattern trying to teach me again? Because once you see the frequency behind the trigger, you're no longer trapped in the loop. You're holding the key. Once you begin to recognize the pattern, not just the trigger, you enter a very different relationship with your own life. And this shift is exactly what the ninth dimension is designed to facilitate. While the 3D world shows you the outer reflection, the ninth dimension functions like a meta-layer of consciousness, a higher plane where your soul tracks its progress across multiple lifetimes and timelines. It holds the big picture, not just of who you are in this life, but who you've been, who you could be, and who you're still becoming. Think of it like a master dashboard for soul evolution. From this vantage point, your higher self isn't just watching one timeline, it's watching many. And across these parallel lives, there may be versions of you encountering the same themes, each making different choices, each playing out a slightly different variation of the same lesson. This is where the concept of dimensional echo comes into play. When a core lesson remains unresolved across timelines, the energy of that unfinished business creates an echo. That echo reverberates down into your current experience, shaping events, drawing in people, and bending synchronicities to mirror that specific frequency. It's not random, it's intelligent. These echoes are how the ninth dimension helps you remember what your soul still needs to learn. One powerful idea that comes out of this is what we can call pattern magnetism. This isn't about attraction in the romantic sense, it's about energetic resonance. Unresolved patterns don't just sit passively in your field, they pull similar experiences toward you, not to punish you, but to give you another opportunity to respond with new awareness. And every time you respond differently, every time you don't react, or don't collapse, or don't run, you begin to weaken the pattern's hold. You shift the signal. The echo gets quieter. The timeline adjusts. This is why spiritual breakthroughs often follow moments of deep discomfort. The soul doesn't evolve through comfort, it evolves through contrast. And from the ninth dimensional lens, those contrasts are not failures, they're checkpoints. They reveal where light is still trying to come in. Even more fascinating is this. Healing in one timeline has the power to ripple across others. Because all timelines exist simultaneously in the ninth dimension, change isn't linear, it's holographic. When you resolve a wound here, the information updates everywhere. You don't have to heal every version of yourself. Just one conscious version can trigger a domino effect across the multiverse of you. So the question isn't just, why is this happening? It's, which version of me is ready to shift the pattern for all the others? Because in the ninth dimension, soul evolution isn't about escape. It's about integration, the moment when enough of you across enough timelines finally gets it. And once that happens, the echo stops. So what exactly allows healing in one timeline to ripple across others? To answer that, we need to look at what quantum physics is beginning to reveal. That time isn't linear, and the past, present, and future are far more interconnected than we've been taught to believe. One of the most mind-bending ideas in quantum mechanics is retrocausality, the notion that the future can influence the present, just as the present influences the past. In delayed choice experiments, for example, particles appear to decide how to behave based on a measurement taken after they've already passed through a system. In simple terms, it means that what happens now can shape what happened before. It sounds impossible, but it's real science. Now apply that to your soul's journey. From the ninth dimension, your life isn't a straight line. It's a web, a multidimensional field of possibilities, all entangled through consciousness. When you make a different choice in the present, when you break a pattern or respond with love instead of fear, you're not just changing this version of you. You're sending a signal across that entire web. You're creating coherence in places that were once fractured, and this is why certain changes feel so deeply profound. You're not just healing you, you're healing your field. This brings us back to those echoes we talked about earlier. Quantum physics suggests that particles can become entangled, meaning their states are connected no matter how far apart they are. In the same way, soul experiences can become entangled across timelines. That's why a wound from a childhood experience can feel strangely similar to a conflict in your career or a betrayal in a relationship. It's the same energy repeating through different formats. But here's the shift. The loop is not punishment, it's precision. Your soul is using these loops as a kind of feedback system, not just to alert you to what's unresolved, but to refine your energy, your awareness, and ultimately your ability to choose from alignment, not reaction. You can think of the ninth dimension as a kind of quantum learning field, where every version of you is in motion, and all of that motion is feeding back to a central intelligence, your higher self. When a lesson remains incomplete, the feedback loops get louder. When a breakthrough happens, the loops begin to resolve. So those repeating themes, they're not signs that you're failing. They're signs that something in your system is trying to harmonize. And every time you catch the loop, every time you pause instead of reacting, every time you ask, what's really being shown here? You collapse the old wave of possibility and create a new one. This is ninth dimensional mastery, not escaping the loop, but understanding that you are the loop. And the moment you fully observe it is the moment it begins to dissolve. But observation alone isn't enough. You have to engage with the pattern, not from fear, not from frustration, but from curiosity. Because once you start working with the loop consciously, you shift from being a victim of repetition to a participant in your own evolution. So, how do you break the cycle? The first step is pattern awareness journaling. This isn't just writing down what happened, it's tracking what keeps happening. Look for recurring themes, not just events, but emotional states. Ask yourself, what do I feel every time this happens? What belief comes up? Often, the repetition is trying to expose a subconscious narrative you didn't know was running. Naming the pattern begins to loosen its grip. The next tool is what some call timeline dialogue. This involves sitting in meditation and connecting with the version of yourself who didn't repeat the loop. Maybe it's the version of you who walked away sooner, or who spoke up, or who chose differently. Let that version speak to you. Ask, what did you do differently? What did you know that I don't? This isn't imagination, it's ninth-dimensional consciousness connecting across timelines. You can also work with energetic reprogramming techniques, such as EFT tapping, hypnosis, or theta healing. These modalities help rewire the subconscious programs that generate the emotional charge behind the loop. Remember, it's not the memory itself that keeps the cycle alive, it's the emotional charge attached to it. Once that charge dissolves, the pattern often disappears on its own. That's why the most underrated and powerful state to cultivate is neutrality. Neutrality doesn't mean you don't care. It means the pattern no longer owns you. When you can observe a trigger without collapsing into it, you're already shifting timelines. This is what real healing looks like, not erasing the past, but no longer being emotionally fused to it. From the ninth-dimensional perspective, conscious observation is transformation. The moment you see the entire pattern, not just react to its surface, you begin collapsing the old wave function. That's quantum language for, you stop feeding the loop. One way to support this is through daily witnessing, taking 5 minutes at the end of each day to ask, where did I act from awareness today? Where did I repeat a familiar reaction? No judgment, just tracking. Because the truth is, your loops aren't trying to trap you. They're trying to graduate you. They're like a soul syllabus, each repetition a test, each breakthrough a pass mark. And the more often you pass, the more space you create for new, unfamiliar timelines to emerge. Ones not rooted in wounds, but in wisdom. So no, you're not broken. You're not behind. You're evolving through a recursive system designed by your soul. And the moment you step into conscious participation, the cycle can finally complete. You're not stuck. You're not cursed. You're not repeating because you're weak or broken. You're in a multi-dimensional feedback loop, a living, breathing system of consciousness designed not to punish you, but to refine you. Every cycle, every echo, every frustrating repeat is an invitation to wake up, observe the pattern, and choose differently. From the ninth dimension, your soul isn't tracking wins or losses. It's watching for clarity, coherence, integration. It wants to know, have you finally understood the lesson deeply enough to shift the energy behind it? And once you do, once you truly get it, the pattern doesn't need to come back. Not because you escaped it, but because you outgrew it. That's the real graduation, when the pattern stops. Not because you fought it, but because you no longer resonate with it. So ask yourself, if this lesson has been following you across time and space, if it's shown up in your childhood, your relationships, your career, even your inner dialogue, then what would happen if you finally listened? Not just to fix the problem, but to understand the frequency underneath it. What would happen if you treated your life not as a mess to clean up, but as a code to decode? Because that's what it is, a recursive, intelligent design, a multi-dimensional curriculum, a soul-level invitation. The ninth dimension isn't somewhere out there, it's already inside you, waiting for the moment you realize. The loop ends when you become the observer. If this video helped shift your perspective, take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might be stuck in their own loop. And in the comments, let us know. What pattern are you ready to finally break? Until next time, keep rising, keep remembering. The code is yours to rewrite.